Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be building this FAQ accordion card. As you can see right here, it's a very cool looking application with some nice functionality which I really like, where when you click on a question here, then the font is going to become bold, and then when you click on it, you can see that this down facing arrow is going to face up like so. And it's just some simple functionality that we're going to implement in React. And of course, we're going to add some bit of styling just to make it cool looking like this with this background gradient as well as this image. So this is the challenge from Frontend Mentor. So you can head over into frontendmentor.io/challenges and you can click on this card right here. You have to scroll a bit down. It's in the middle of the web page currently. So you can click on this and then you can download the starter files. And if you have completed the challenge, then you can just click on restart to download the starter files again. And you can see that it's going to say get started right here, and then it's going to say download starter. Okay, so I'm not going to do that because I already have this downloaded somewhere right here. So it's going to download a zip file for you, and then once you extract it, then it's going to extract into this. So I'm going to open this up in Visual Studio Code. So I'm just going to right click on it and say open with code. Okay, and then once it opens up, then you're going to see that we have the design files here, we have the images folder, we have our getting-know, our index.html, and all the other files inside here. But what we technically need here is the desktop design, because that's what we want to look at. And then we're also going to need the style guide as well as the images folder. So before we do get started, I want to canvas a new React application. So I'm going to open up VS Code in a new file, or rather a new instance of VS Code. And then I'm going to cd into my desktop into a folder that I created called FM Challenges. And then inside here, I'm going to create a new React application. So I'm going to say npx create React app. And I'm going to call this FAQ accordion-yt like so. And then I'm going to let this run. And then once it finishes running, then we are going to continue. Okay, so now that this has finished running, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my second instance of VS Code. And I'm just going to copy the images folder. So I'm just going to copy this and then I'm going to paste them. Oh, I need to open this up. So let's cd into FAQ accordion-yt. And then let's just open VS Code inside here. Like so. And close this. And then now I'm just going to place this full screen. And then now I can copy my images folder inside here. So paste. Like so. And then I want to do a bit of cleanup because we don't need all these files. So I'm going to delete this one, the app.test.js, the logo, the report with vitals, just going to delete them. And then in the index.js, I'm going to remove this because we have deleted this file as well as this, and then save it. And then in the index.css, we are going to remove this. And then in the app.js, we are going to remove this on top, and then all of this. And then we're going to return a div with a class of container. And then inside here, we're just going to return an h1 that says FAQ. Okay, so once we have that, let me check if we do need anything else. We need these colors. Let me copy these colors. Okay, so just copy these, and then inside the index.css, I'm going to create my root variable. So colon root like so, and then I'm going to comment this out. Comment. And then we're going to name these colors. So these are going to, this is going to say very dark desaturated blue. So dash very dark desaturated blue. This is soft red. This is soft violet. Dash soft violet. So that's how you name variables in CSS. So this is, what is this? Soft blue. So dash soft blue. This is very dark grayish blue. Very dark grayish blue. This is dark grayish blue. So dark grayish blue. This is light grayish blue. So light grayish blue. Okay, and then remember to place your semicolons, otherwise you're going to have errors, which we do have. Okay, and this has a colon. Okay, so there we go. Now what we do need to do is we have a custom font that we need to get, this one right here. So we need to get the 400 and 700 font weights. Okay, and the body has a font size of 12. Okay, so font weights of 400 and 700. Let's check this. Okay, so let's go ahead and select the 400 font weight right here, as well as the 700 font weight, and then let's just use the import. So copy this, and then inside our actual file on top of this, now we're going to paste this in, and then we're going to go into the body and say the body is going to use a font size of a font family of this. I don't know how to pronounce that. Okay, so let's see what else do we need. Okay, I don't think there's anything else that we do need, because I think I have a pretty good picture of how this looks in the desktop design. So let's go ahead and let's close this, and then I'm going to open up my terminal, and in my terminal I'm going to run npm run start, which is going to start our development server on localhost 3000. So as this spins up, what I want to do is I want to go ahead, you know what, I've just remembered what we need. So let me open up my downloaded folder once more. Okay, so we do need to get these questions from here. These are the questions and the answers. We do need to get them from here, and what I'm going to do is inside my workspace, I'm going to create a new folder, a new file, sorry, inside my source folder, and this new file is going to be called questions.js. And then inside questions.js, I'm just going to say export const questions, and this is going to be an array of objects, and it's going to have the structure of ID, question, and then answer. Question and answer, like so. So these are going to be 5 questions. So I'm just going to copy this 5 more times by holding down shift and alt and then the down arrow. So 1 2 3 4 5. Oh, sorry, those are 6. No, so 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, yeah. And then what I need to do is now just get these questions from here. So just copy and paste. So copy this here, paste the answer, and then copy the second one. Of course, we don't need these spaces. We need to remove the spaces, otherwise we get errors. So copy the second one here, and copy the answer as well inside here. Copy the third one here, as well as the answer. Then the fourth one, we need to remove this, and then the fourth one inside here, the answer inside here, and then finally the fifth one inside here, as well as the answer. Okay, now we do need to change this ID. So this is going to be 2, this is going to be 3, this is going to be 4, and this is going to be 5. I'm using IDs because I want to use the ID to be the key when we map over this list, but I'm going to show you another way where you, another method you can use if you don't want to use the ID. Okay, so our dev server has started on localhost 3000. So let me close this. Let me close this as well. Let me close this. Let me close this. Yep. And then the first thing that we do need to do is I want to change the title for this. Okay, now I can close this. I hope so. I don't think we need anything else, but let me just copy this title. Copy this, and then we can close this. And then I'm going to go inside my public folder inside my index.html, and then I'm going to change this title to this. Okay, and then now we can close this because as you can see the title updates. And then the first that I want to do is let's just structure out how we want our app to look. So we don't want to start with an H1 technically. Instead, I'm going to start with an article, and this article is going to be an image. Okay, and we're going to be getting these images from our images folder. So let me just say import mobile. So the mobile version of the image from ./images/. It has a very long name, so it's called illustration woman online mobile. First of all, let me just place this full screen. It's called illustration woman online mobile .svg. Oops. And then I'm just going to copy this downwards, and then I'm going to change this into desktop because the desktop version also exists. Okay, and then once we have that, then inside here I want to render my picture tag. Okay, and my picture tag takes in a source element as well. Source, I can't spell. Okay, so for a min width of 760 pixels, and I'm going to explain this in a moment. The source set for this, I want this to show the desktop image first of all, and then below this we're going to have our image tag, and this is going to be showing the mobile image. So what this means basically is that when the device width is greater than 760 pixels, then I want the desktop image to show. Otherwise, I want the mobile image to show because the device width is going to be less than 760 pixels. So this just adds a bit of responsiveness. Instead of toggling these images in your CSS, you can just do it in your HTML like this. And then below this article, we're going to have another article, and this article is going to be an H1 that says FAQ. And then below this article, we're going to render our single question component. So single question component, which we are going to create, right? So let's go ahead and create our component. So inside the source folder, I'm going to create a new file called singlequestion.js, like so. And then inside here, just want to say export default function single question, like so. And then for now, we're just going to be returning an empty fragment with a div inside here and an article, and this article is going to have an h2 that says question, and then below this we're going to have an image, technically an image or an icon really, if you want to think about it. And then below this we're going to have our answer. Okay, so let's save this, and then let me import this file on top. So let's say import single question from single question, and then now instead of this, let's just render our component like so. So let's save this, and then on the screen we should see not this, what does it say? So what's the error? Can't resolve illustrate. Oh, I spelled this wrongly. Illustration has an I. Okay, so let's reload this. Okay, so we see that we have our image on top, we have our FAQ H1, we have our question component, which shows the question and the answer. And then on bigger screens, notice how the image also becomes bigger. That's because of this toggling that is happening right here. So it's very nice. And then what I want to do next is, let me just place this properly. What I want to do next is I want to get the questions array of objects that we've just created, right? Okay, so for this one, I want to access it in my app.js. So what I'm going to do is, on top of this, I'm going to import useState from React. And then I'm also going to import the questions. So import questions from /questions, like so. Okay, and then I'm going to create my state value, which is going to be holding the questions data. So I'm going to say const quests. And I don't need to set the function because we're not going to be using the function. So this is going to be equal to useState. And by default, I'm going to pass in the questions, which we have just imported on top. And then now, because I want to render all the questions, right? I want to render all the questions, all 5 of them. What I'm going to do is, instead of rendering the single question component by itself, I'm going to say quests.map. And then for the object that we get back, I'm just going to call it quest, like so. Then I want to return a single question component. Okay, and remember, when we're mapping over objects, then when you're mapping over an array, then it returns a list, and in React, every list needs to have a unique key. So for the key for this is going to be quest.id. That's why I had the ID. Okay, and then I'm just going to save this, and we should see 5 questions appear here. There we go. So question. Now, if you don't want to do this, if you don't want to say quest.id, what you can say is you can get the index of the item, and then you need to also get the index right here. And it is preferable to use index when you know that the data that you have is not going to change. Otherwise, it's going to mess up your application quite a bit. But for now, because we know that this data is not going to change, then we can just use the index, and that's okay. Okay, so now we just need to figure out how we're going to get the questions from here, right? So these actual questions and answers, and display them on the screen. So what I'm going to do is, right inside my app.js, I'm going to show you 2 ways where you can do this, right? So you can create a prop here called question, and this is going to be called to quest.question, right? So that's how you access the question inside here, right? Because we're getting back an object called quest, okay? And then we want to access the question from this single question that we get back. I hope that makes sense, right? and then we're making it equal to a prop called question that we have just created. Okay, and then we can do the same for the answer, where we're going to say the answer is equal to quest dot answer. Okay, and then now that these are props, then you can go into your actual component called single question, and then you can destructure them inside here as props. So you can destructure question and answer. Okay, now instead of this rendering question inside here, you can just render the question value that you have, and then you can render the answer as well. So you can save this, and you can see now we have our actual questions and our actual answers. Okay, so that's looking nice. Now let me show you the other method, right? Imagine if you had more values inside here, more key values inside here, maybe like 5 of them, for example, right? So for example, let me just copy this down. If your object had more values inside here and you wanted to access them in your single question component, then you'd have to go inside the app and you have to render more of those values inside here, which just becomes a bit of a hassle, right? So another way you can do this, if you don't want to do this, right? If you don't want to do this, what you can do is you can use the spread operator, and the spread operator is just going to say dot 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 quest, right? And this basically means that take all the remaining values inside this object that you get back and then pass them into the single question component. Okay, so the remaining values in this case are going to be the question and the answer. So it just means take the question and the answer and then pass them inside this into this component as props, and then now you can just go ahead and destructure them, because you know that the remaining values are the question and the answer, and then you can display them, and then you can see now that I save, nothing breaks on the screen because everything works correctly. Okay, so let's go ahead and style this out a bit. So let me go inside my index.css, and the first thing that I want to do is I want to add this background gradient. Okay, so let me go inside the body, and I'm going to say background, and I'm going to set this into linear gradient, and I'm going to say set it to 120 degrees. The first value is going to be soft, what was the first value? Soft violet. So soft violet, make this into a variable, so var soft violet, like so. And then the second value is going to be var soft blue. Okay, so let's save this, and we have this on the screen. And I've just realized something that I'm probably going to mess me up. I've not reset the margin and the padding for this. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So let's go below this, and I'm going to say reset the margin to 0, margin to 0. Oops, can't type. And reset the padding to 0 as well. Okay, and then set the box sizing to border box, like so. Okay, now you can see something wrong with this, right? You can see something wrong with this, where you can see that the color starts from here up to the bottom and then starts again. I don't want this to happen, right? So let's fix that by going below this and saying background repeat, set this to no repeat. Okay, so that happens. And then now, in order to fix this, then I'm just going to give the body a min height of of calculate 100 viewport heights minus 0.1 pixels. And there we go. Okay, looking fantastic. Now what I want to do is I want to go and I gave this a class of container here, right? Which is basically our accordion card, right? So let's go inside the index.css. Let's access the class of container, and I'm going to give this a background color of white. Let's see that. Okay, background color of white. Let me say padding of 1.25 rem. Okay, and then let me go inside the body as well and give it a padding of 1.25 rem. And actually, you know what, I need to specify the rem value to use. So let me say font size, let me see how 12 pixels looks, because that's what we had in the design. So 12 pixels, that looks too small for me, so I'm going to use 14 pixels, like so. And then the padding here is what pushes this accordion inside just a bit. So if I remove it, it's going to take it back to the edge, which I don't want, right? And then this padding on the container is what pushes the text inside. So if I remove it, then the text is going to go back into the edge of the container, which I also don't want. And then for the container, I'm going to give this a border radius of 1 rem, which is now 14 pixels because I've set it inside here. And then what we need to do is we need to change these colors. And I want to access this image as well. So let me say that for the container, and let me say the container, let me see where it is. So for the container, I want this first article and I want to access the image inside. So what I'm going to do is container, and I'm going to say that for the immediate article, which is the first child, like so, then I want to access the image inside here. And for the image, I'm just going to say display block. Okay. And then once I say display block, I can say set the margin, come on, I can't type. Set the margin to auto, which should center it like so. Fantastic. Okay. And then let me go inside the container h1. So the container h1, I'm going to set this color into this like so. And then I'm going to change the font size. So let's say font size into 2 rem. Okay, fantastic. And probably not, let me change this color to very dark desaturated blue, because that's what we had. That's what we have as a variable on top right here. Okay, and then I want to access this h2. Actually not, let me still remain on this h1 for a bit. Let me increase the margin. So let me say margin of 1 rem on the top, 0 on the left and right, and 1.25 rem on the bottom. Okay, pushed away from this image as well as from this, just a bit. And then what I want to do is, let me see. I want to go into the single question component, and I'm going to give this div a class name of, let's call it article question, like so that we can now style this a bit differently, just a bit differently. So let's say for the article question, right? For the article question, I want to access the article and then the h2. Give this color, give this h2 a color of very dark grayish blue. So dash very dark grayish blue. This should be grayish blue. Change it into the variable like so. And then I want to access the paragraph inside here. So for the paragraph, I want to set the color to, what was it? Dark grayish blue. So dark grayish blue. Okay. And this is not inside the article. Sorry, that's why it doesn't change. Okay, there we go. And then another thing that I do want to do is I want to change the font family, the font weight for this h2 into light font. So let's say font weight, set this to 400. And then we can set the font size as well. Come on, font size. We can set this into 1 rem. Yeah, 1 rem should be fine. And then what I want to do is I want to add a custom class on this h2 so that when you click on it, then it's going to change this font weight into bold. So I'm going to copy this down and I'm going to give this a custom class name of clicked, like so. So we're going to say that when the h2 has a class of clicked, then I want to change the font weight to 600. And just to test this out, I'm going to go inside this h2, give this a class name of clicked, and you should see this. Now it's made into bold, right? Now we're going to be toggling this, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. And then now what I want to do is I want to go inside this article. So on top of this right here, and then I just want to say margin bottom of let's say 0.5 rem, pushed away from pushed away from the paragraph, sorry. And then I'm going to go inside this article question, and below this I'm going to say border bottom of 0.2 rem, and I'm going to say solid, and this color is for the dividers right here, so light grayish blue, this one, light grayish blue. Where was I? Right here, light grayish blue. There we go. So it introduces, let me change this to 0.1, it's too thick. So it introduces this very slight divider, right? And then inside here I'm going to give this a padding of 1 rem on the top and bottom and 0 on the left and right. Okay, so this happens. Would you look at this? Okay, so this is looking almost nice, right? Now what we need to do next is we need to display our downward facing arrow, right? And in order to do that, I'm going to install a package called React Icons. So I'm going to add my terminal right there, and then I'm going to say npm install react-icons, like so. Now as that installs, then I'm going to go into my single question component, and on top of this I'm going to import the 2 icons that I'm going to need. So the first one is called fa chevron up, and the second one is called fa chevron down, and these are coming from React Icons /fa, like so. And then now this is where I was saying that we need the image. Now instead of the image, I'm going to display the FA chevron up first of all, and I'm going to show you how we're going to be toggling this as well. Okay, so let's let this finish installing just for a moment, and we should see this. Would you look at this? So it's looking okay, right? Now I'm saying up because by default we can see the text, right? Now I just want to style this article a bit differently, where I want this this arrow to go to the right, right? So let's go ahead into the right inside here actually, and on top of this I'm just going to say display flex like so, and then I'm going to say align item center and justify content to space between. We should take it to the end. Okay, look at that, looking fantastic. Now let's go ahead and let's begin toggling our accordion. So inside the single question component, I'm going to import use state on top of this. So import use state from React. Okay, and then I'm going to set up my state values. So I'm going to say const is clicked. Actually no, let me call it is showing. I think is showing is a better name, and set is showing. This is going to be equal to use state, and by default nothing is going to be shown, so by default it's going to be false. Okay, and then because nothing is going to be shown by default, I mean the answers, I want to go inside these paragraphs and I want to place some conditional rendering where I'm going to say only when is showing is true, that's when I want the paragraph to show. Okay, so once I save this, then the paragraph should disappear like so. Would you look at this? Okay, and then the next thing that I want to do is I want to go inside this chevron, right, and I want to remove it, and I'm going to place another conditional where I'm going to say when is showing is true, then I want the FA chevron up to appear. FA chevron up like so. Close it out because it's a React component. And then when it is false, when is showing is false, then I want FA chevron down to appear. Oops, like so. So save this, and would you look at this? Now nothing happens because we haven't yet added our clicking function, right? But if I change this into true, look at this, this goes up, and then we can see our paragraphs, right? So our functionality is working. We just need to add how we can click on it, right? Now before I do that, I've just noticed that I want, when I hover over this, then I want the cursor to be a pointer. So I'm going to go inside this article and I'm just going to set cursor into pointer like so, that when I hover over it, then the cursor is going to be a pointer, meaning you can click on it. Okay, so inside the single question component, what I'm going to do is inside this article, I'm going to add an onClick event, and I'm going to place in my inline function like this, and I'm going to say set is showing into the opposite of is showing like so. So what this means is, because this is the function that controls how we access the state value, this means that if is showing is true, then set it to false, and if it is false, then set it to true. So it's basically a toggle really. And now look at this, when I click on this, it shows, and then when I click on this, it shows. When I click on it again, it disappears, and it disappears. And notice how the toggle also works, right? Now I just want to add a custom class on these two items. So this is going to have a class name of icon like so, both of them, right? And then I'm going to go inside the index.css, and right below this I'm going to add a class of icon, and I'm just going to change the color into soft red like so, and this should change the color right there. Okay, now let's add the functionality where we're going to change this text into bold when we click on it, right? So let's go inside the single question component, and inside the h2 we're going to have a class name, and this class name is going to be now not a string, but we're going to place our brackets, our curly brackets, and then our template literals. Okay, which means we want to access our state value called is showing like so. So when is showing is true, we want to add a class name called clicked, and then if it is false, then it's just going to remove this class name. Okay, remember we created this class name when we were styling our h2 right inside here, which just changes the font weight into 600. So let's save this and then let's try it out. So look at this, and of course it doesn't work because I haven't saved this. So let's try it out. So click on this. Now you can see that now it is bold because we have clicked on it, and this also becomes bold, and this also becomes bold, and so on and so forth. And then when you click on it again, then it is no longer bold. Okay, now what we need to do now is just to scale this up, right? Just need to scale it up just a bit. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I want this to come to the center. I want this to come to the center. Okay, so let's go back inside the body, and inside the body, I'm just going to say display flex and align it from center and justify content to the center. Remember, we already have a fixed height here, so it should place it to the center right there. And then I don't want it to be thin like this, so I'm going to go inside the container and I'm going to give this a width of 400 pixels. Okay, and of course, if your device width is less than 400 pixels, then it's going to introduce horizontal scrolling. I just think that you should know that. And then we want to increase this width on bigger screens, so let's add a media query. So I'm going to say at media, and for a mean width of 768 pixels, then I want to access the container and I want to give it a width of 700 pixels. And then let's see this, let's increase it right there. See where the width increases, right? Looking fantastic. And then now what I want to do is I want to display this on the left and the questions on the right. So remember how we structured this in the beginning. So this class of container has one article and the second article. So the first article shows the image, this one right here, and the second article shows our FAQ. So let's go ahead and style this out. Let's go into right here actually, and we can just say display flex, right? And we can say align item center, align item center, and justify content to the center, so that this happens, right? Now this doesn't really look all that good, so instead of setting this here, what I'm going to do is, what am I doing? Instead of setting this here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check for a larger width. Okay, so I'm going to add another media query. So for a mean width of, let's say, 1024 pixels, 1024 pixels. For a bigger width, then I want to access the container and I want to set this width into, let's say, 1024, so let's say 992 pixels. Okay, so that we're going to have this, and then now we can go on top of this and just say display flex. Okay, that's much better. And align item center and justify content to the center. Okay, and then now I want this to just go back to the left a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to access the first article just like I did on top, right? So I'm going to say container and then place my greater than sign, and then I'm going to say article first child, right? And then what I want to happen here is I want this to have a flex of 1, so flex grow of 1, like so. And then I want to access the second child, so just copy this downwards. Let's just say nth child 2, and then just set this to flex 1 as well. And that happens. Now you can see that now it's like in the middle, right? So this has a flex grow of 1 and this also has a flex grow of 1. And then now what I want to do is inside this first one, I want to have a margin right of 1.25 rem, so 20 pixels. Actually, it's not 20 pixels because I have what on the body? I have 14 pixels, so it's not really 20 pixels. But just add this, increase this margin. Actually, I can say something like 3 rem, just to increase this margin just a bit. But remember that our functionality is still working, as you can see. Very, very nice. Okay, so yeah, I think that's the end of the project actually, because we have added all the functionality that we need, right? We've added all the functionality that we need, and this is working pretty nice, if I do say so myself. Okay, so I've committed this project to GitHub. The repository is called FAQ Accordion card, and you can go ahead and check the link in the description as well, just in case you miss it, and then you can check for the code in case you're having any problems. Okay, so that is the end of the project, and it was a fun project for me. And if you enjoyed it as I did, then please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.